The city glittered below like broken glass scattered across velvet. Sebastian Hawthorne pressed his palm against the cold penthouse window. 32 stories above a world that had always bent to his will. At 32, he owned that world. Tech empire. Billions. Power that turned heads in every room he entered tonight. None of it steadied his racing pulse. His phone felt heavy in his hand as he stared at her contact. Luna Rodriguez. 2 years she'd worked for him. 2 years of watching her transform chaos into clarity, numbers into strategy. She had a mind that saw patterns where others saw noise, and eyes that held something he'd forgotten existed. Genuine warmth. He pressed call. Luna Rodriguez speaking. Her voice carried that slight accent his partners mocked. To him it sounded like home, though he'd never had one that felt real. Luna. It's Sebastian. His throat tightened. Do you have a moment? Of course, Mr. Hawthorne. Is something wrong with the quarterly reports? Always work first. Always responsible. It made him smile despite his nerves. The reports are perfect. I'm calling about something else. He paused, and the silence stretched like a held breath. The charity gala is Saturday. I want you there. With me, the line went quiet. Too quiet, Mr. Hawthorne? I don't think that's appropriate. Her voice dropped, softer now, vulnerable. Those events are for important people, investors, celebrities, people who belong in that world. You belong anywhere you choose to be. You don't understand. I'm not like them. I shop at thrift stores. I take the bus. I don't even own a dress that costs more than $50. I don't care about your dress. Luna, I care about you. Another silence. Heavier than the first. I need time to think. Take all you need. The call ended, leaving Sebastian alone with the city lights and a knot of anxiety in his chest. The next morning, he walked into the conference room to find his business partners already waiting. Damian Cross sat at the head of the table, old money aristocracy written into every line of his tailored suit. Natasha Pierce leaned back in her chair, designer heels propped on the polished wood, red lips curved in a predatory smile. We need to talk about Saturday, Damian said. No greeting. No warmth. Sebastian poured himself coffee, buying time. What about it? Don't play dumb, Sebastian. Natasha's voice dripped with disdain. We heard you invited your little accountant. The one with the regional accent and the second-hand wardrobe? Luna Rodriguez, Sebastian corrected, steel threading through his tone. And yes, I invited her. Damian laughed, sharp and cold. Tell me you're joking. This gala represents everything we've built. Senators, Fortune 500 CEOs, international artists. And you want to bring someone who probably doesn't know which fork to use? Luna is brilliant. She's contributed more to this company than half the people on that guest list. Intelligence isn't the point. Natasha stood, circling him like a shark. This is about breeding, sophistication. She embarrassed herself. She embarrass us. You're being narrow-minded, or being practical. Damian's eyes hardened. Take her to a quiet dinner. Buy her something nice. Enjoy her privately. But don't parade her in front of our connections. Sebastian's jaw clenched. You're talking about her like she's shameful? She's inappropriate for this setting, Natasha said flatly. Bring Catherine Morrison. Or Vivian Ashworth. Women who understand our world. Women who bore me senseless. This isn't about your entertainment, Sebastian. Damian stood now, voice rising. This is about shareholders. Board members. Reputation. You're thinking with your heart, not your head. Sebastian looked at them both. These people he'd called partners for years, and felt something inside him crack. Then maybe my heart knows something you don't. He walked out, leaving their protests echoing behind him that afternoon. Luna appeared in his office doorway. She wore a simple blue blouse and black slacks. No jewelry except a small silver cross at her throat. Her dark hair was pulled back, revealing the exhaustion in her eyes. I heard what they said about me. Sebastian's blood turned to ice. How? Your assistant accidentally left the conference room intercom on. Her voice stayed steady, but her hands trembled. I heard every word. What they think of me. What they think I am? Luna, they're wrong. Are they? She stepped inside, closing the door. Look at me, Sebastian. Really look. I'm not from your world. I never will be. I don't want you to be. Yes, you do. Her eyes glistened. Maybe not consciously, but eventually you'll resent me for not fitting in. For embarrassing you. That's not true. Then prove it. Her voice cracked. Because right now, I'm terrified. Terrified of going to that gala and confirming everything they believe about me. Terrified of staying away and wondering if I was too much of a coward to try. Sebastian crossed the space between them, stopping just close enough to see the gold flecks in her brown eyes. Come with me Saturday. Not because you have to prove anything to them, but because I want to spend that evening with someone real. Someone who reminds me why we do this work in the first place. Luna's breath hitched. And if I fail? If I say the wrong thing, use the wrong fork, prove them all right, then we fail together. She searched his face for a long moment, looking for the lie, the pity, the condescension. Finding none, she nodded slowly. Okay, I'll come. As she turned to leave, Sebastian spoke again. Luna. One more thing. She glanced back. Wear whatever makes you feel like yourself. I don't want you in a costume. I want you. The smile that crossed her face was small, fragile, but real. After she left, Sebastian's phone buzzed. A text from Damien. This will end badly. Don't say we didn't warn you. Sebastian deleted it and looked out at the city again. For the first time in years, he felt like he was fighting for something that mattered. Saturday evening arrived wrapped in cold. November air and the scent of expensive perfume. The Grand Belmont Hotel glittered like a jewel box, chandeliers casting prismatic light across marble floors. Sebastian stood at the entrance in his tailored tuxedo, watching luxury cars deposit their passengers like offerings at an altar. His phone buzzed. Luna's text. I'm outside. I'm scared. He texted back immediately. I'm coming to you. Sebastian found her standing beside a taxi, clutching a small purse, her breath visible in the cold air. She wore a simple emerald dress that hugged her curves without trying too hard. No diamonds. No designer label. Just Luna, beautiful in her authenticity. Look perfect, he said. Her laugh was shaky. I look like someone pretending to belong here. You look like someone who doesn't need to pretend. He offered his arm. She took it, and together they walked into the lion's den. The ballroom swallowed them in opulence. Crystal chandeliers. Ice sculptures. A string quartet playing something classical and haunting. Everywhere, people who measured their worth in zeros and connections. Damien spotted them immediately. His expression hardened. Sebastian, Ms. Rodriguez. He nodded curtly at Luna, his eyes cataloging her dress, her shoes, her lack of jewelry. Finding her wanting. Lovely that you could join us. The words dripped with sarcasm. Thank you for having me, Luna replied. Her voice steady despite the tremor in her hand on Sebastian's arm. Natasha appeared like a vulture sensing weakness. She wore blood-red Versace, diamonds at her throat, worth more than Luna's annual salary. How quaint, Natasha purred, eyeing Luna's dress. Vintage. Thrifted, Luna answered, lifting her chin. I don't believe in spending thousands on clothes when that money could feed families. Natasha's smile turned poisonous. How noble. Though I suppose necessity is its own virtue. Sebastian's jaw clenched. Natasha, what? I'm simply making conversation. She turned to Luna with false sweetness. Tell me, dear, what do you do? Besides accounting, of course. I volunteer at a literacy center, Luna said quietly. Teaching adults to read. How charitable. Natasha's tone made the word sound like an insult. Sebastian's always had a savior complex. Before Sebastian could respond, a waiter approached with champagne. Luna took a glass, her hand steadier now. She sipped it, and Sebastian watched something shift in her eyes. Not defeat. Something harder. Determination. Excuse me, a voice interrupted. An older man with silver hair approached, his smile genuine. Sebastian Hawthorne. It's been years. Senator Matthews. Sebastian shook his hand. I didn't know you'd be attending. Wouldn't miss it. Education is the foundation of civilization. The senator turned to Luna. And who is this remarkable woman? Luna Rodriguez. She manages our company's finances. A woman who understands money. The senator's eyes twinkled. The most dangerous kind? Tell me, Ms. Rodriguez, what's your take on the proposed education bill? The one about increasing funding for low-income districts? Luna didn't hesitate. I think it's insufficient. The proposed budget allocates 63% to administrative overhead, only 37% to actual classroom resources. Those ratios need to invert. The senator's eyebrows rose. You've read the bill? I've read all 1,400 pages, including the footnotes. Silence rippled outward. Damien and Natasha stared. Remarkable, the senator breathed. Most people don't get past page 3. What would you change? Luna set down her champagne and spoke with the confidence of someone who'd done her homework. For 10 minutes, she outlined budget reforms, resource allocation strategies, and oversight mechanisms. The senator listened, nodding, occasionally interjecting with questions. She answered precisely. A small crowd gathered. Other politicians, CEOs, people who'd dismissed her moments ago now leaning in, captivated. When she finished, the senator smiled broadly. Miss Rodriguez, if you ever tire of the private sector, I could use someone like you in Washington.
How Luna flushed.
That's very kind. As the senator moved away, Sebastian leaned close. You're brilliant. I'm terrified, she whispered back. But I'm not going to let them make me feel small. Across the room, Natasha's face twisted with something ugly. She pulled Damien aside, whispering urgently. Sebastian couldn't hear their words, but he recognized the venom in their expressions. The auction began. Sebastian took the stage, welcoming the guests, explaining the cause. $5 million raised in 20 minutes. Luna watched from the side, her eyes soft with admiration, not for the money, but for the kids whose lives would change because of it. As the crowd mingled again, a young reporter approached Luna. Excuse me, I'm with the City Journal. I overheard your conversation with Senator Matthews. Would you be willing to comment on education reform? Luna glanced at Sebastian, uncertain. He nodded encouragement. Of course, she said. The reporter pulled out a recorder. You mentioned administrative overhead. Can you elaborate? Luna spoke passionately about resource waste, teacher support, student outcomes. The reporter scribbled notes, eyes bright with interest. When the interview ended, Sebastian felt pride swell in his chest. But across the room, Damien's expression had turned thunderous. He strode over, gripping Sebastian's elbow. We need to talk. Now. They moved to a quiet corner. Damien's voice was low, furious. Do you have any idea what you've done? What are you talking about? Your little girlfriend just gave an interview criticizing the education bill. Senator Matthews is one of our biggest investors. His nephew wrote that bill. She gave her honest opinion. That's called integrity. It's called sabotage. Damien's eyes blazed. Natasha and I have worked for months to secure Matthew's support for our expansion. One careless comment from your charity case could destroy everything.
Ow.
Sebastian stepped closer, voice dangerously quiet. Call her that again? Or what? You'll throw away your company for someone who doesn't belong in your world. Maybe she belongs more than you do. Damien's laugh was bitter. You're choosing her over us. Over everything we've built. If that's what it takes, then you're a fool. Sebastian returned to Luna, but the joy had drained from the evening. She sensed it immediately. What's wrong? Nothing. Let's get some air. They stepped onto the balcony. The city spread below them, indifferent to their drama. Luna shivered in the cold, and Sebastian draped his jacket over her shoulders. They hate me, she said softly. They're afraid of you. Same thing. She looked up at him, eyes glistening. Sebastian, I don't fit here. I don't want to fit here. These people value the wrong things. I know. Then why did you bring me? The question hung between them like smoke. Because you remind me who I wanted to be before I became who I am. Luna's breath caught. That's a lot of pressure. You didn't ask for it. I'm sorry. She touched his face, her fingers cold against his skin. Don't apologize for seeing me. For wanting something real. He leaned down, his forehead resting against hers. For a moment, the world consisted of only their shared breath. The space between almost and everything. Then the balcony door crashed open. Natasha stood there. Phone in hand, her expression triumphant and cruel. Sebastian, you need to see this. She turned the phone screen toward them. A news alert, tech billionaires date slams senator's education bill. Hawthorne Enterprises stocks drop 4%. Below it, Luna's face, mid-sentence, looking intense and critical. Yes. They twisted my words, Luna whispered, horror spreading across her face. They always do, Natasha said coldly. Welcome to our world, sweetheart, where everything you say becomes ammunition. Sebastian grabbed the phone, reading the article. The quotes were real, but stripped of context, made to sound accusatory rather than constructive. This is manageable, he said. Damien appeared behind Natasha, arms crossed. Matthews just called. He's pulling his investment. $20 million gone because your date couldn't keep her opinions to herself. Luna's face went white. I didn't mean to, but you did. Damien's voice was ice. And now, Sebastian has to choose. The company we built together, or you? All eyes turned to Sebastian. The city lights blurred below, indifferent and cold. The silence on the balcony pressed down like a physical weight. Luna stood frozen, Sebastian's jacket slipping from her shoulders, her face drained of color. Damien and Natasha waited, predators sensing blood. 20 million, Sebastian repeated, his voice hollow. Matthews pulled 20 million, and he's not the only one. Natasha tapped her phone screen. 3 other investors are reconsidering their positions? Your little publicity stunt is costing us everything. Luna's hands trembled. I should never have come. I should have known I'd ruin everything. No. Sebastian gripped her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. You told the truth. That's not a crime. It is in our world, Damien said flatly. Truth is expensive, Sebastian. You're about to learn exactly how expensive. Through the balcony doors, Sebastian could see other guests watching them, whispering, recording on phones. The vultures gathering for the feast. We need to go inside, Sebastian said. We need to issue a statement to clarify Luna's comments. Too late. Natasha held up her phone again. It's viral. Social media is tearing her apart. They're calling her everything from a gold digger to a radical. Your brand is now her brand. Congratulations. Luna pulled away from Sebastian, wrapping her arms around herself. I'll resign. Effective immediately. I'll make a public apology. Take full responsibility. Maybe that will stop the bleeding. No, Sebastian's voice cut like steel. You're not sacrificing yourself for their mistakes. Their mistakes? Damien laughed, incredulous. She's the one who couldn't keep her mouth shut. She answered a question honestly. Since when is that a punishable offense? Since it cost us $40 million and counting. Sebastian turned to face his partners fully, and something in his expression made them step back. You two orchestrated this. You knew that reporter would twist her words. You probably fed him the angle. Natasha's smile was a razor. Don't be paranoid. Paranoid? You've been trying to sabotage this from the beginning. You wanted Luna to fail. To prove you were right about her. We wanted to protect the company, Damien corrected. Something you clearly no longer care about. You care about building something that matters. Not just making money, but making a difference. Luna understands that. You never did, how noble? Tasha's voice dripped sarcasm. And when the company collapses, when everyone loses their jobs, will your noble intentions pay their mortgages? The question hit like a bullet. Sebastian had no answer. Luna touched his arm gently. Sebastian, they're right. I don't belong in this world. I tried, but I'm not built for it. I'm not willing to swallow my beliefs to protect profits. That's not weakness. That's integrity. Call it what you want. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. But integrity doesn't pay salaries. It doesn't keep your company alive. She turned to Damien and Natasha, her chin raised despite the tremor in her voice. I'll resign tonight. I'll make it clear Sebastian had nothing to do with my comments. I'll take the fall. Luna, don't, Sebastian pleaded. It's already done. She handed him back his jacket, the gesture final. Thank you for tonight. For making me feel like I mattered, even if just for a moment. She walked past Damien and Natasha, her head high. Her steps steady despite the storm raging inside her. Sebastian moved to follow, but Damien blocked his path. Let her go. Get out of my way. Really talk? Damien's expression shifted, calculation replacing anger. Sebastian, we've been partners for 15 years. We built this from nothing. Don't throw it away for a woman you barely know. I know her better than I know you. Do you? Natasha moved closer, her voice softening into something almost gentle. Or do you know the version of her you want to see? The noble, honest, selfless version? What do you really know about Luna Rodriguez? Something in her tone made Sebastian's blood run cold. What are you talking about? Natasha pulled out her phone again, scrolling through screens. We did some digging after you invited her. Just due diligence, you understand? Background checks, financial history, the usual, and she turned the phone toward him. A document filled the screen. Financial records, bank transfers, large sums of money moving between accounts. What is this? Luna's bank records from 6 months ago. Notice anything interesting? Sebastian scanned the document, his heart sinking with each line. Deposits from offshore accounts, transfers to shell companies, amounts that didn't match her salary. She's embezzling from the company, Damien said quietly. Has been for months. Small amounts at first, then larger. We caught it during a routine audit, but we wanted to be sure before bringing it to you. This is fake. But Sebastian's voice wavered. You fabricated this to discredit her. Check the audit logs yourself. The trail is there, Sebastian. She's been stealing from you since the day she arrived. The balcony tilted. Sebastian gripped the railing, his mind racing. Luna's modest clothes. Her second-hand everything. Where was the money going? There has to be an explanation. There is. Natasha's voice turned sympathetic. She saw an opportunity. A wealthy, lonely man. A company with loose financial oversight. She played you, no. Luna wouldn't she? Damien leaned against the railing, his expression almost pitying. Think about it. She's desperate to fit in. Desperate to belong. Desperate enough to steal? Sebastian's phone buzzed. A text from his head of security. Need to speak with you immediately. Found discrepancies in Rodriguez's accounts? Possible fraud. The world collapsed. We're not your enemies, Sebastian, Natasha said softly. We're trying to protect you. Protect the company. Luna is the threat, not us. Sebastian stared at the phone in his hand, then at the door Luna had disappeared through. Every instinct screamed that this was wrong, that Luna couldn't have betrayed him. But the evidence was there. Black and white. Numbers that didn't lie? What do you want me to do? His voice came out broken. Fire her quietly. No criminal charges if she returns the money and signs an NDA. We protect the company. She walks away. Everyone moves on. And if she won't return the money, Damien's eyes hardened. Then we prosecute. Fully, publicly, we make an example of her. Sebastian looked out at the city, at the lights that suddenly seemed cold and merciless. Somewhere down there, Luna was probably crying, believing she'd ruined his life. Maybe she had. Just not in the way she thought. I need to talk to her. Hear her side, of course, Natasha smiled. But Sebastian, don't let emotion cloud your judgment. Not this time. The company can't survive another mistake. They left him alone on the balcony, the evidence burning in his phone, his heart at war with his head. Inside the ballroom, the gala continued. Champagne flowed. People danced. The auction raised millions for children who needed hope. And Sebastian stood in the cold, wondering if he'd just fallen in love with a lie. His phone rang. Luna. He stared at her name on the screen, his finger hovering over the answer button. Every second felt like an eternity. Every choice felt like falling. Finally, he answered. Sebastian. Her voice was thick with tears. I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you from the beginning. I'm listening. Can we meet? Somewhere private? I can't do this over the phone. He closed his eyes, the evidence and the emotion colliding in his chest. Where? The rooftop garden. At your building? 1 hour. I'll be there. The call ended. Sebastian pocketed his phone and returned to the ballroom. Damien and Natasha watched him from across the room, their expressions unreadable. Around him, the city's elite celebrated their own generosity, their own virtue, blind to the war being waged in their midst. Sebastian left the gala without saying goodbye to anyone. The drive to his building passed in a blur. He rode the elevator to the rooftop. The familiar ding of each floor marking time like a countdown. Luna was already there, standing at the edge, looking out at the city. The wind whipped her hair around her face. She'd been crying. He could tell even from behind. I didn't steal from you, she said without turning around. But I did lie. About everything. The rooftop garden was empty except for the two of them and the ghosts of what they might have been. City lights sprawled below like a field of dying stars. Luna stood at the edge, her back to Sebastian, her shoulders drawn tight with tension. You lied about everything, Sebastian repeated, his voice flat. Numb, explain that. Luna turned slowly. Her makeup was ruined, mascara tracks cutting lines down her cheeks. But her eyes held something fierce and unbroken. My name isn't Luna Rodriguez. It's Luna Delgado. The name hit Sebastian like a punch. Delgado. He knew that name. Carlos Delgado. He breathed. The whistleblower. My father. Luna's voice cracked. The man who exposed the corruption in Senator Matthews' education fund 5 years ago. The man who lost everything to tell the truth. Sebastian's mind raced, connecting pieces he'd never seen. The senator who just pulled his investment. That Matthews? The same. Luna wrapped her arms around herself. My father was his accountant. He discovered Matthews had been siphoning money from education programs into offshore accounts. Money meant for schools, for kids, stolen to fund his campaigns and his lifestyle. Your father went public, and Matthews destroyed him. Luna's voice turned bitter. Smeared his reputation, called him a liar. Used his connections to make sure my father never worked again. Within a year, Dad lost our house. Lost his career. Lost everything. He died 2 years ago. Heart attack brought on by stress. But really, Matthews killed him. Just slowly. Sebastian felt the ground shift beneath him. You took this job to get revenge. You took this job to survive. Luna stepped closer, her eyes blazing. After Dad died, I had nothing. No family, no money. Just a finance degree and a name I had to change because no one would hire a Delgado, so I became Rodriguez. Buried my past. Started over, but you didn't forget. How could I? Tears spilled down her cheeks. Every day I saw people like Matthews getting richer while kids went hungry. Every gala, every donation that was really just a tax write-off or a publicity stunt, I wanted to scream at all of them. Tell them what hypocrites they were. The money in your accounts. The transfers. What is that? Luna's expression shifted, something like shame crossing her face. My father's old files. Evidence he collected against Matthews. I've been building a case, gathering more proof. I hired lawyers, investigators. That money is from selling everything I had. My car. My mother's jewelry. Everything. Sebastian pulled out his phone, showing her the evidence Damien had given him. These transfers? They're from offshore accounts. Look closer. Luna took the phone, zooming in on the account numbers. Those aren't coming to my account. They're tracking data. I was monitoring Matthew's accounts, watching where his dirty money flows. Your head of security must have caught the surveillance in his audit and assumed I was the one receiving funds. She pulled out her own phone. Opening files Sebastian had never seen. Spreadsheets, bank records, communications. Paper trail that pointed directly at Senator Matthews and 3 other high-profile donors to Sebastian's company. 4 of your biggest investors are Embezzling from their own charity funds, Luna said, including Matthew's. I've been documenting it for months, waiting for enough evidence to go public without getting destroyed like my father was. Sebastian stared at the evidence, his world tilting. Why didn't you tell me? Because I didn't know if I could trust you, Luna's voice broke. You're part of their world. You go to their parties. You take their money. For all I knew, you were in on it. But you stayed. You worked with me because I saw something different in you. She wiped her eyes roughly. The charity work you do, it's real. You actually care about those kids. You're not like them. But I couldn't be sure. Not until tonight. When you defended me. When you were willing to lose everything rather than let them make me feel small. Luna's laugh was hollow. And then I realized what I'd done. I'd used you. Gotten close to you, not because of who you are, but because of what you could help me accomplish. Sebastian felt like he was drowning. So everything between us was a lie. No. Luna grabbed his arms, desperate. That's what I came here to tell you. It started as strategy, but it became real. You became real. When you asked me to that gala, I should have said no. Should have kept my distance. But I couldn't, because somewhere along the way, I stopped seeing you as a means to an end and started seeing you as someone I could maybe love. The word hung between them like a confession and an accusation all at once. You maybe love me, Sebastian said slowly while planning to destroy my company. Your company is built on blood money. Matthews, Whitmore, Pierce, Cross, 4 of your top 6 investors are criminals. If I expose them, they pull their funding. Your empire collapses. And you knew this when you came tonight. I knew. Luna's voice dropped to a whisper. I knew that defending education reform, criticizing that bill, it would trigger Matthews. Make him react. I used that interview to force his hand. Sebastian stepped back, the betrayal cutting deeper than any knife. You used me. I used the situation, and I hated myself for it. But Sebastian, those men are thieves. They're stealing from children, from families who have nothing. Someone has to stop them. So you'll sacrifice me to do it. I'll sacrifice myself first. Luna held out a flash drive. Everything's on here. All the evidence. Give it to the authorities. Expose them. Let the cards fall where they will, including you, including me. Her hand trembled. I broke laws getting this information. I'll probably go to jail. But at least the truth will be out. At least those kids will get their money back. Sebastian stared at the flash drive, then at Luna, seeing her fully for the first time. A woman carved from grief and rage and desperate hope. A woman who'd lost everything and was willing to lose even more to honor her father's sacrifice. There's another way, he said slowly. What? We go public together. We control the narrative. I testify that I authorized your investigation. Make it legal. Corporate due diligence on our investors. They can't touch you if you were working under my orders. Luna's eyes widened. That would make you complicit. They'd destroy you too. Let them try. Sebastian took the flash drive, feeling its weight. My company means nothing if it's built on stolen dreams. You were right about me, Luna. I do care about those kids. More than I care about my reputation. You'll lose everything. Not everything. He stepped closer, cupping her face in his hands. I'll still have the memory of tonight. Of watching you refuse to bow. Refuse to break, Sebastian, and maybe when the dust settles. If you can forgive me for being blind to who I was taking money from, we can find out if what you feel is real. If maybe love could become definitely love. Luna closed her eyes, leaning into his touch. You're insane, probably. He kissed her forehead. But I'm also done letting fear make my choices. A sound behind them made them both turn. Damien stood in the rooftop doorway, Natasha beside him, their faces twisted with rage. How touching, Damien said coldly. The thief and the fool. We heard everything, Natasha added, holding up a phone, recording. Every confession. Every admission of fraud. Sebastian felt Luna go rigid in his arms. How long have you been there? Long enough. Damien walked closer, his movements predatory. You want to know the truth, Sebastian? The real truth? I know the truth. Matthews and the others are embezzling. We know. Natasha's smile was vicious. We've known for months. In fact, we're the ones who helped them set up the offshore accounts. The world stopped. You're partners with them, Luna whispered. You're in on it. You're businessmen, Damien corrected. And you, dear Luna, just handed us the perfect leverage. We have your confession. Your admission of illegal surveillance. Your plans to expose our investors. One phone call to the authorities, and you're looking at 10 years in federal prison. Lest Natasha added sweetly. You disappear quietly. Tonight, leave the city. Leave Sebastian. Leave this crusade for justice. We keep your confession quiet. You keep our secrets quiet. Everyone walks away. No, Sebastian stepped between them and Luna. You're not threatening her or giving her a choice, Damien said. Prison or freedom. Seems simple enough. Luna's hand found Sebastian's. And if I choose to go public anyway, then we destroy you both. Sebastian's company collapses. His reputation gets shredded. And you go to prison alone, knowing you ruined the one person who actually cared about you? The rooftop fell silent. Below them, the city pulsed with indifferent life. Above them, stars fought through light pollution to be seen. And between them, a choice that would define everything that came after. Luna's grip on Sebastian's hand tightened. Sebastian, let me go. Let me walk away. Save yourself. No, please. This is my fight, not yours. It became mine the moment I fell for you. We do this together, or not at all. Tears streamed down her face. You'll lose everything. I already lost the most important thing. My integrity. Let me find it again. Turned to Damien and Natasha, squaring his shoulders. Call the police. Call the FBI. We're going public with everything. Your involvement. Matthew's embezzlement. All of it. You're bluffing, Damien said. But uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Try me. Natasha's expression hardened. You're making a mistake, Sebastian. A fatal one, maybe. But it's my mistake to make. For a long moment, no one moved. The city waited. The stars watched. And 4 people stood on a rooftop, each holding cards in a game where everyone could lose. Sebastian pulled out his phone, fingers steady despite the storm raging inside him. I'm calling my lawyer. Then the FBI. Then every journalist I know. You want a war, Damien? You'll get one. Stop. Natasha's voice cut through the tension. She looked at Damien, some silent communication passing between them. We need to talk. Privately. 5 minutes. Talk fast, Sebastian said. They stepped away to the far corner of the rooftop, their urgent whispers carrying fragments on the wind. Luna stood close to Sebastian, her body trembling despite her straight spine. This is it, she whispered. No going back. I don't want to go back. Your company was built on lies. Better to burn it down and build something real. Luna's eyes searched his face. You mean that? Every word. Damien and Natasha returned, their expressions transformed. Not angry anymore. Calculating. We have a proposal, Damien said carefully. A compromise. I'm listening. Natasha's smile was thin. We give you Matthews and the others. Full cooperation. We testify about their embezzlement. Help the investigation. In exchange, our involvement stays buried. You want immunity while they burn. We want to survive. Damien's mask had cracked, revealing something raw underneath fear. Sebastian, we made mistakes. Got greedy. But we're not monsters. Let us help take down the real criminals. We'll disappear after. Leave the company. Give you full control. Just don't destroy us. Sebastian looked at Luna. She understood the question in his eyes. Your choice, she said softly. Always your choice. Sebastian thought of the children who'd suffered while men in suits stole their futures. He thought of Luna's father, dead from the stress of fighting alone. He thought of every compromise he'd made, every truth he'd swallowed, every time he'd chosen comfort over courage. Here's my counteroffer, he said. You cooperate fully. You testify. You return every dollar you stole, and you serve whatever time the courts decide. No immunity. No deals. Justice or nothing. That's prison time. Years of our lives. Less time than Luna's father would have served if he'd been the criminal. Less time than Luna was facing because she dared to tell the truth. You're sentencing us to hell. No, Sebastian's voice was steel. You did that yourselves. Natasha laughed, bitter and broken. So righteous. So pure. You weren't always this way, Sebastian. You used to understand that business requires flexibility. Moral flexibility. I was wrong. You were practical. I was a coward. He stepped closer to her. But I'm done being afraid of losing things that never mattered. Silence stretched like a razor across skin. Then Damien's shoulders sagged. If we refuse, then Luna and I go public. With everything. Including your involvement. At least this way, you get to tell your side. Maybe the court shows mercy. Maybe they don't, but you get to choose how you fall. Luna touched Sebastian's arm. This will still hurt you. Matthews and the others will pull their investments. The company will collapse. Then we rebuild. He covered her hand with his. Something smaller. Something honest. Something that actually matters. Damien looked at Natasha. She nodded slowly, defeat written in every line of her body. Fine, Damien said. We'll cooperate. We'll testify. We'll face whatever comes. There's one more condition, Luna said, her voice steady, despite the tears in her eyes. You leave the literacy center alone. The one I volunteer at, it relies on funding from Sebastian's charity. Whatever happens to the company, that program continues. Agreed. Sebastian pulled out his phone again. I'm calling the FBI now. When they arrive, you tell them everything. No holding back. No protecting anyone. And us. Natasha asked, her voice small. Vulnerable in a way Sebastian had never heard. Will you visit us? In prison? The question caught him off guard. For a moment, he saw them not as villains, but as people he'd known for 15 years. People he'd laughed with. Built dreams with. People who'd chosen wrong but were still human. Maybe he said honestly. If you earn it, the FBI arrived within the hour. Then the lawyers. Then the journalists. The rooftop garden filled with people, carrying notebooks and cameras and recording devices. Luna gave her statement, her voice never wavering. Damien and Natasha confessed, their words damning themselves and others. By dawn, the arrests began. Senator Matthews taken from his Georgetown home in handcuffs. 3 other investors following. The news spread like wildfire. Social media exploded. Sebastian's phone rang constantly. Investors fleeing, board members demanding answers, shareholders threatening lawsuits. And through it all, Luna stood beside him, steady, unbroken. 3 months later, Sebastian stood in a much smaller office overlooking a much quieter street. His empire had indeed collapsed. Stock value plummeted. Investors scattered. The company split into pieces, sold to competitors. But from the ashes, something new grew, a consultancy. Small, ethical, focused on helping nonprofits. Managed their finances with transparency and integrity. Luna worked beside him, not as his advisor, but as his partner, equal in every way. The money was less. The prestige gone. The fancy dinners and galas, distant memories. Sebastian had never been happier. Coffee? Luna appeared in his doorway holding 2 steaming mugs. She wore jeans and a simple sweater. No makeup, hair in a messy bun. Beautiful in her reality, always. She sat across from him, and he noticed the letter in her other hand. What's that? Sentencing results? She handed it to him. Damien got 8 years. Natasha got 6. Matthews got 15. The others between 10 and 12. Sebastian scanned the document, feeling the weight of those numbers. Lives derailed. Futures rewritten. All because of choices made in greed and fear. How do you feel? Luna asked. Sad, relieved, guilty, grateful, looked up at her. Everything at once. Yeah. She sipped her coffee. Me too. They sat in comfortable silence, the kind that only comes from surviving storms together. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, two people who'd lost everything and found something better sat drinking cheap coffee and planning their next steps. The literacy center called Luna said, "They want to expand. Help more adults learn to read. They need someone to manage the finances." Sounds perfect for us. I thought so too. She smiled, that real smile he'd first seen on the night of the gala. "We'll never be rich again, you know. I know. Never have the penthouse. The luxury cars. The respect of powerful people. I don't need their respect. Just yours." Luna stood, walking around the desk to where he sat. She cupped his face in her hands and he leaned into her touch, feeling peace wash through him like a prayer. "You have it," she whispered. "You've always had it. From the moment you chose me over everything else, it's the best decision I ever made. Even though it costs you everything." It didn't cost me everything. He pulled her down to kiss her, soft and certain. "It gave me everything that matters." She kissed him back, and in that moment, the world reduced to just the two of them. Two people who'd fallen through betrayal and loss and emerged holding each other when they pulled apart. Luna rested her forehead against his. "I love you," she said. "Not maybe. Not eventually. Definitely. I love you too." "What do we do now?" Sebastian looked around their modest office, at the files on nonprofits needing help, at the thank you cards from families whose kids could now read because of the programs they supported. He looked at Luna, this woman who'd lost her father but kept his legacy alive. This woman who'd risked everything for truth. "We build something that would make your father proud," he said. "Something that actually helps people. Something real. Together. Always together." They stood, hands intertwined, looking out at a city that had chewed them up and spit them out and somehow, possibly given them exactly what they needed. Not wealth. Not power. Not the approval of people who valued the wrong things, but each other. And purpose. And the bone-deep satisfaction of knowing they'd chosen right even when it cost them everything. 5 years later, her consultancy had helped over 100 nonprofits. The Literacy Center had expanded to 3 cities. Luna's father's name had been cleared. His legacy restored, and Sebastian and Luna married now. Stood in a small community center watching adults learn to read, their eyes bright with hope and determination. "Do you ever miss it?" Luna asked, her hand finding his. "The empire. The power." Sebastian watched a grandmother sound out words in a children's book, her face glowing with joy at her achievement. He thought of the lives touched, the futures changed, the truth that had set them all free. "Not even for a second," he said, and meant it, because some things are worth more than empires. Some things are worth losing everything to find, like integrity, like love, like knowing that when the world demanded you bow, you stood tall, like knowing that when they asked you to choose between what was easy and what was right, you chose right every single time, no matter the cost. The city lights sparkled beyond the window, indifferent as always. But inside that small community center, warmth and hope glowed brighter than any diamond, and two people who'd walked through fire to find each other held hands and watched the future unfold. One learned word at a time, the end.